Hi, everyone, and welcome to the last workshop in this CBT series, which is all about your behaviours. And this is where change really happens in your life. Your life is not just shaped by the thoughts alone, okay? So, the first workshop I went through just explaining how your thoughts link to your emotions and how your emotions link to your behaviours and how your behaviours reinforce your thought patterns. The next workshop after that was all about awareness of your thoughts, what they do when you can't catch them, challenge them, change them, reframe them, distance yourself from them. And your behavior is what you do with your thoughts and your feelings. It's not just your thoughts alone. So, where behavior comes in the cycle, it can be as a result of how you're thinking and feeling, or it can be the trigger for your thoughts and feelings. So, for example, someone that had a binge eating episode, you feel really full and ashamed of yourself and guilty after you have that binge eating episode. And you start to think, oh, I've ruined everything. You have those feelings, not only just of guilt, but after a binge eating episode, you feel actually sick, full, kind of disgusting, and you're maybe disgusted with yourself. You're fueling your thought patterns. The physical sensations are fueling those thought patterns as well. And maybe as a result of that, you decide you're not going to eat anything now for the next 2 days. Or you decide that you're going to do 3 hours of cardio. That behavior is as a result of your thoughts and feelings. Okay. So the behavior can be the end part of thoughts and feelings in the cycle or the trigger. Another example is that when you're feeling really anxious, then you decide, like, you just can't cope with seeing anyone this weekend. So you avoid events that you planned, social events or whatever, the gym, cancel plans, you isolate. And then when you're sitting in that isolation, the behavior, the action, which is sitting in isolation or doom scrolling, is reinforcing those thought patterns. Oh my God, I can't cope with this, which fuels the anxiety, which makes you want to stay in or cancel plans or isolate even more. Okay. So it's another example of where the behavior part fits in the cycle. Behaviors are often coping strategies. So behaviors are a result of what you do with your emotions. So in the last workshop, I did an exercise with you where you sat with a feeling and explored feelings in your body or emotions in your body. And you learn how to tolerate emotions when you do that more often. And you realize that, okay, you could be feeling a lot of grief, a lot of loneliness, you could be just feeling so anxious or negative. But when you sit with it, you learn that, it isn't the worst thing in the world, and you do get better at doing it and better at processing your emotions. And that in itself is a behavior. Sitting with an emotion is an action that you decide to take as a result of what you're feeling. But there are unhealthy actions and unhealthy behaviors as a result of how you're feeling. Drink, drugs, etc. But also inaction is also an action. So not doing anything at all to help yourself or to help what you're feeling is an action in itself. So in order to create some awareness around your behaviors, just thrown in here that literally awareness is the most important thing. So I've covered at the start, the first workshop was awareness of how your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are all connected. The second workshop was thoughts awareness. What sort of thought patterns have you got that are leading to how you're feeling? The next workshop was awareness of how you're feeling in your body, where you're feeling it, how that emotion shows up for you, sensations and physical feelings in your body if you're not able to label your emotions. It's all awareness. And behaviors is about looking at what you do when you feel or think like this. So anytime you feel lonely, sad, negative, anxious, anything at all that feels uncomfortable, what action do you take? Examples of Positive emotions would be you go for a walk with a friend, FaceTime a friend, talk it out, do a bit of journaling. Those are all examples of actions that will help. But most of the time, people take actions that will not help. Scrolling, drinking, not doing anything at all, isolating yourself, overeating, emotional eating, binge eating, working. I've been guilty of that in the past. So this is behavior awareness, the pattern awareness. What do you do when you feel like this? And a lot of the time people are waiting to feel better to choose differently or act or behave better. But that's not how the world works. The same way that in the last workshop, I taught you that you are able to sit with uncomfortable feelings. So what you need to do is choose differently. Choose a behavior or an action that is different to the ones you are used to doing. You need to change the pattern. And sometimes that can be the hardest thing to do, even though it actually is on paper very easy. It's harder to do because your brain loves familiarity. Your brain also loves doing the easy thing, which is, oh, I'm not going to deal with that. No, I'll just go for a few drinks instead. Your brain doesn't like effort. Your brain doesn't like change, but it is the thing that's going to break the behavior part of the cycle. So you just start small. Literally, it doesn't have to be a big thing. What do you do when you feel like this? Okay, I go for drinks, I ignore the world for 3 days, I watch telly, binge watch shows, I overexercise, whatever it is. Right, you need to change it. You need to change and take a different action. So go for a walk instead of isolating yourself. Doesn't mean you don't have to be on your own, but go for a 20-minute walk. Clear your head, listen to some music. FaceTime a friend, talk it out. Eat a balanced meal instead of restricting yourself after a binge eating episode. Instead of overthinking, what did I do on the weekend? Just reach out and ask, oh God, I'm feeling really anxious. Did I do something at the weekend? And get that clarity. Change the behavior part. Because every action that you take is reinforcing your identity. And what I mean by that is every time you reinforce this behavior pattern, it is reinforcing the type of person that you are becoming. So if you want to be someone that is unable to manage their emotions and that turns to drink every time they feel sad, continuing with that pattern is confirmation and an absolute guarantee that you will always be someone that does that. So in order to change the person you're becoming or the person that you are to become someone else that, is able to deal with difficult emotions and is able to ring a friend and talk it out instead of going for the drink or whatever it is, you have to change the behavior. And when you change that pattern, it breaks the cycle. It interrupts that cycle, that CBT cycle I showed you at the very start. And when you choose differently, when you change the behavior part, you don't reinforce negative or unhelpful thoughts. So let's say you turn to the drink anytime you feel lonely. That reinforces, oh my God, I'm such a loser. Why can't I just get a grip? Blah, blah, blah. But when you change the behavior, which comes from how you're feeling, so when you interrupt that pattern and choose differently, what happens is you completely flip your mindset. You're going to feel very proud of yourself that you went for a walk and called a friend instead of reaching for the booze. And there is a complete 180 of the CBT cycle in that moment because you chose differently with the behavior, which means there's no more reinforcement of negative thoughts or irrational thoughts. What happens is, oh my God, I feel great for not going on the piss because I felt like shit. I feel so good after ringing a friend to talk it out. And I realized that after talking to that friend, it's actually not as bad as it was. I reached out and I asked, and told my friend, I feel really anxious. Did I do something on Saturday? And they replied saying, no, what do you mean? Are you okay? And it reinforces positive thoughts. And what happens then when you have a positive thought? It is the exact same CBT cycle, but in a positive way. So you think a more balanced and positive thought, which makes you feel way more balanced and positive overall. And when you feel that way, you don't choose unhealthy behaviors. You choose positive behaviors and actions that align with this new person that you're becoming, that is able to catch their thoughts, challenge it, change it, reframe it, that is able to sit with difficult emotions and not try to numb or distract, and is able to choose healthier, more constructive behaviors, which then reinforces the thoughts. So the cycle is the exact same, but you have to be able to interrupt it at every single point and switch it, and then the cycle continues, but you change from a negative CBT cycle to a positive thoughts, feelings, action cycle. And again, you can interrupt that cycle at any point, just like you can with a negative trigger. Okay, so here's a task that you can do when you want to work on that behavior part. So, like I said, you don't change by making huge decisions. You actually take small micro actions that you repeat daily if you can. So the next time you feel something strong, okay, or a situation is bothering you, or a thought is going around in your mind, take a pause before you do the thing that doesn't ever work out for you. So before you snap, before you go buy a bottle of wine, before whatever it is, just take a pause, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, what am I feeling? What am I feeling, and what do I usually do? Because you're not going to do that thing. Ask yourself, what do you want to do? And the answer might be, well, I want to go on the piss. I want to get rid of these feelings. But what would the best version of you do? Because you're going to choose differently this time. And take one action towards doing that thing instead. And I promise you're going to feel 100 times better. So I hope you enjoyed this CBT series. It was only supposed to be a small introduction on how your thoughts, feelings, and actions all link, how to build awareness around each stage in that cycle. And, there's 2 or 3 tools per link or per section: thoughts, feelings, actions, that you can try yourself. So I hope you enjoyed. I really want to hear your feedback on this. And if you want to learn more, you can join the 30s Club, unfuckmethod.com/30s Club, if you want to reach out for CBT coaching, because it's not as simple as just me telling you those things. You actually have to go and do them and implement them. And it takes time, to really change patterns, whether that's thoughts, feelings, or actions. So if you want help with coaching, please reach out, becca@beccagillen.com, or you can drop me a DM. And I look forward to seeing you again and hearing your feedback. Thanks for joining. Bye.